daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for stopping by for our weekly Intel report for the 10th of May, 2023. Big shout out to everybody that's taking some time out of their day to be here with us this evening to get caught up on everything that's going on in the world, from the war in Ukraine all the way over to the Middle East and to the situation in the South Pacific with China and Taiwan. We're covering it all here on Nemico Network. Again, we're going to be starting off tonight's news. As usual, we'll be covering the latest in the situation in Ukraine. We'll then be jumping into some China news. We'll also be touching on a little bit of news out of North Korea, Iran, and a couple other topics as well. Before we begin, however, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention and hopefully get this reporting into the hands of more people. It's important to keep everybody informed. In the current state of the world, you know, it's important for us to come together and to share this information. Big shout out to Epi thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Big shout out to Joe Blowin' Wind for the gifted memberships. Epi with the super chat there saying thank you. Well, thank you, Epi, for tuning in tonight. Michael McDonald, good to see you. Evil Doer, good to see you as well. Everybody thank Joe. Thank Joe. He's the one that's been gifting everybody the memberships in the live chat over the past few weeks. Big shout out to Joe Blowin' Wind for all that great support. Epi Moo with that super chat says pair character blowing down saying thank you. Oh wait, that's the emoji. Okay, so on my restream chat, it describes that emoji for me. So again, that's what it describes it as: pair character blowing down saying thank you. Well, thank you, Epi. Glad to see you here. Old Stuff fan, thank you so much for tuning in. Patty Whack, good to see you. I know you said you were having some issues there with the moderation commands in the live chat. We'll have to look into that after the stream. It could be a browser-related issue, however. You might want to maybe refresh the page, maybe try a different browser. Could fix the issue. Hugo says, Nemico, hello. Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you, Hugo. Thank you so much for tuning back in this evening. Mike Seffert, I'm pretty sure I'm pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for tuning in. Doug Wilson, good to see you. Sydney, good to see you as always. Hero and War, Ukraine Plus, thank you so much for tuning in. Says hello. Again, we're just getting started here this evening, guys. We are starting a little bit later tonight. I had some technical difficulties with my OBS configuration. Second time I've had this issue, so I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that. But again, we're here. We're not going anywhere. Again, we will be bringing you guys the news as usual. Again, I'll be starting tonight's reporting with the main headlines, which again is that successful Ukrainian counteroffensive, which is occurring in the east of the country. We'll be talking about all of the news out of Ukraine, getting everybody filled in on what's been going on for about the past week or so. If you didn't catch last week's report, I highly recommend you go and check that out to get filled in on what's been going on. So you'll kind of have some basis, to know what's going on in this week's reporting. Again, we'll be starting with Ukraine and then transitioning into some other main headlines. We have some news from China and Taiwan, some news from North Korea, Iran. I believe we also have some updates on Sudan, if I'm not mistaken. We'll be looking at our open source intelligence data for you guys this evening. We'll be taking a look at the community aggregated reporting from our Situation Room and our Intel analysts over on the Nemico Network Discord server. Speaking of which, if you don't know, we do have a Discord community community server. There's a link to that in the description down below. Everybody's welcome to join, and we'd love to have you over there. Ookton says, I had to reconnect with the stream, had no audio. That's no good. Yeah, Pattywax says he was having some issues with his moderation command, so it could be something where you just need to reconnect. Speedy Squirrel, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Says, I like the later time. I know quite a few of you actually were asking me to do this later, so I see quite a few of you that said that tuning in now. I'm glad you guys are able to make it once for a report. Again, sorry to those that usually tune in at our 8 p.m. Time slot. We are about an hour and 45 minutes, hour and a half or so late for tonight's report, again, due to those technical difficulties. But nonetheless, we will be getting everybody filled in on what's been going on. Again, before we start, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. It helps out the channel tremendously being subscribed. It also helps you get notified when new videos and streams go live. Again, make sure you hit that notification bell. I know quite a few of you have said that you're subscribed, but you're not getting those notifications. Even people that are subscribed and have hit that notification bell and clicked the all setting still tell me sometimes that they don't get notified when our new videos and live streams go up onto YouTube. Again, that is kind of due to the nature of the reporting that we're doing here. We are talking about some pretty hard topics, some pretty sensitive topics here, related to war and other dramatic world events that are occurring. But nonetheless, if you check back on the channel, we are live about every week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also upload videos sporadically over the week. Anyway, without further ado, I've told you guys about the Discord. I think we've gone through everything. I think we've touched all of our bases. We are streaming, dual streaming on both Twitch and YouTube, for those that don't know. So everybody that is tuning in on Twitch tonight, thank you so much for being here with us. Glad to see all of our Twitch viewers tuning in tonight. The only Angie, good to see you, says, I got both notifications tonight. That's always good. Thank you so much for letting me know there in the live chat. Paul Fiaca says, I like the 8s. I'm turning into a pumpkin after 10:30. Well, don't worry. We will be back here next week at the normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But for now, again, we're coming to you guys tonight a little bit later than usual. So, again, without further ado, we are going to get in tonight's, we're going to dive right into to tonight's reporting, again, with those main Ukraine headlines first. I'm going to head over to our battle map here. We're going to take a look at the situation on the ground in Ukraine. I know, so that's kind of our main headline this week, is this situation in Ukraine. I know over the past few weeks we've been talking a lot about this Ukrainian counteroffensive, this spring counteroffensive, which is coming on the heels of that failed Russian winter offensive. They didn't gain that much ground in a lot of these areas. Either way, the Ukrainians now on the offensive in some of these areas here in the east of the country, especially around BAHKMUT. They're making great progress there in recent days around BAHKMUT. We have a few articles to go over this evening talking about that success they're having in those areas, in and around BAHKMUT specifically. I'll talk about that here later in the show. We also have a few videos from the ground in Ukraine to show you guys tonight, which we'll be getting into later in the live stream. First of all, however, I'm going to read you guys tonight's main Ukrainian headlines. We have quite a few to go through here. Of course, the first one and mainly the main headline here being, again, a Ukrainian commander said that Russian forces in BAHKMUT, so the city you're seeing here on screen, had been pushed back to up to 2 kilometers in some areas after counteroffensives had occurred in the region. Again, on behalf of the Ukrainian forces there, Colonel General Alexander Syrsky, who heads Ukraine's ground forces, posted on his Telegram, quote, in some areas of the front, the enemy could not resist the onslaught of the Ukrainian defenders, and they retreated. Meanwhile, and again, just before I continue here, we do have more information on the situation in BAHKMUT here later in the show. Actually, right here after this next article, I do have a few other little tidbits here we'll get to about BAHKMUT. We have a lot of information on specifically that area around BAHKMUT in the east of the country, which we will talk about later in tonight's show. Sir Sin for Rent just subscribed over on Twitch. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight and being here with us. Glad to see you. Again, so our next article here, again, coming out of Ukraine, not just Ukraine, but Russia, more specifically, says Russia's oil pipeline operator Transneft said a filling point on the Europe-bound Druzhba, again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so thank you for bearing with me, pipeline had been targeted in a, quote, terrorist attack near the border with Ukraine, according to the TASS news agency. Again, that is a Russian news agency, so to keep that in mind. Transneft said nobody was injured in the incident. Meanwhile, Ukraine's military said its forces had seriously damaged Russia's 72nd Independent Motorized Rifle Brigade near Bakhmut, made up of it says thousands, plural, of troops. This came from Serhiy Chervyady, a spokesperson for Ukrainian troops in the east, who said the situation remained, quote, difficult in Bakhmut, but Moscow was increasingly having to use regular army units because of heavy losses among Wagner Group fighters. We also have some Wagner news here. The Wagner boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, complained that his fighters were still not getting enough shells from the defense ministry. In an audio statement, he said the defense ministry, which has promised to ensure that all combat units have the resources they need, had been holding long meetings on the shell issue, but there had been no breakthrough. Quote, we're not receiving enough shells. We're only getting 10%, Prigozhin said, according to Reuters. There's been a lot of this butting heads between the Wagner PMC and the Russian military proper, and the government proper for that matter, over supplies and all sorts of different issues, again, that they've been having in recent months here. I believe we have some other news on that Wagner PMC later in the show. Meanwhile, the French Parliament called on the European Union to formally label the Wagner Group as terrorists, as the UK reportedly prepares to do the same. France's parliament unanimously passed a non-binding resolution aimed at encouraging the 27 members of the EU to put Wagner on its official list of terrorist organizations. XO, good to see ya, says in the chat, did you hear the Chief Wagner is ordered to stay in Bakhmut or be labeled as a traitor? I had not heard that yet, but I will be looking into that. We've had a lot of conflicting reports, a lot of news about the PMC, about those Wagner mercenaries in recent days. There's a lot to go through, a lot to sift through here. Again, a big shout out to everybody that's just tuning in. We are just getting started with our main Ukraine headlines for this evening. Again, huge thank you to everybody that is with us this evening. Glad to see you. In other, In other news, Russian forces plan to evacuate more than 3,000 workers from the town that serves the occupied Zaporizhia nuclear plant. I know there's been a lot of information that's came out over the past 2 to 3 months here about that Zaporizhia nuclear plant. We've had all sorts of conflicting reports about the status of the plant, what's going on in that area. Again, it says here, there's catastrophic lack of qualified personnel at that Zaporizhia nuclear plant. Again, that's Ukraine's state-owned Energoatom, I believe it's called, company said, Ukrainian state-owned Energoatom company. Ukraine has repeatedly accused Russia of forcibly deporting its citizens from occupied Ukrainian regions to Russian Federation territory. Again, it says here, Russian forces plan to evacuate more than 3,000 workers from the town that serves that occupied Zaporizhia nuclear plant. We've also heard conflicting reports of explosives and munitions and all sorts of stuff being stored in and around that plant complex. Again, it's a very sticky situation, to say the least, to put it into blunt terms here, in and around that Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Again, it's the largest nuclear power plant in all of Europe, for those that do not know. Hero and War in Ukraine, Hero and War Ukraine Plus. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Says Civ YouTube channel, Film War in Ukraine. I highly recommend Civ Div. I believe I shouted him out last week, if any of you are unfamiliar. Civ Div is a great YouTuber that's been posting stuff from Ukraine, some of his own experiences in Ukraine, actually. So I highly recommend going and checking him out. Also, Operator Starsky, he's a great Ukrainian YouTuber. there's a whole laundry list of great Ukrainian-related YouTubers that I could shout out here on the stream, which I probably will eventually here. Paddywhack says, Nemico, grab yourself a root beer. Way ahead of you, Paddywhack. I am way ahead of you. We got that taken care of. He also says, hit that like button, slap the bell, and share the stream. Thank you so much for doing the due diligence there, Paddywhack. Again, for everybody that's just tuning in here, I see we got quite a few people that are just joining us. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe on your way in. Cindy Prudence says, rum and Coke for me. It's one of those nights. I see. Again, we're just going through our main Ukraine headlines here. We're just getting started. Next up, Germany's foreign chancellor, Gerhard Schroeder, has been criticized again for his links to Russia after attending a Victory Day party at the Russian embassy in Berlin. Schroeder was seen at a reception on Tuesday, marking the anniversary of the defeat of Nazi Germany in the Second World War, along with the senior figures from the far-right Alternative für Deutschland party in the far-left Linke party there in Germany. Meanwhile, Russia may formally denounce the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, which it pulled out of in 2015, according to a decree signed by Vladimir Putin himself on Wednesday. The decree formally appoints the Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov to President Putin during parliamentary proceedings on denouncing the treaty, which aimed to regulate the number of forces deployed by the Warsaw Pact and NATO countries. So now we're getting into our individual Ukraine headlines for this evening. So I'm going to switch over to our main screen here so we can see these articles in their full glory here. We'll go ahead and we'll read them together. This first one coming out of Al Jazeera. It says the U.S. approves the first transfer of seized Russian funds to Ukraine. It says here, the Biden administration has sought increased powers to send seized assets from Russian sanctions evaders to aid Kyiv. United States Attorney General Merrick Garland has authorized the first transfer of funds seized from Russian oligarchs to aid Ukraine. In a statement on Wednesday, Garland said the money seized from Russian oligarch Konstantin Malayev, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, thank you for bearing with my American pronunciation of these words, will go towards the war-torn country with which Russia invaded on, of course, the 24th of February back in 2022. It says here, quote, while this represents the United States' first transfer of forfeited Russian funds for the rebuilding of Ukraine, Garland said, quote, it will not be the last. Last year, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Malefiev with violating sanctions imposed on Russia. Prosecutors said he provided financing for Russians promoting separatism in Crimea, a peninsula the country annexed from Ukraine back in 2014. That's when I first, for those of you that don't know, me personally, that's when I first really learned about Ukraine and the situation here between Russia and Ukraine was back in 2014 when, as what they called back then, the little green men stepped over the border from Russia into Ukraine. Even before that, we had the riots and protesting in Kyiv, which preceded all of that. And again, that's where I kind of came on board, and started watching all of this, news that was coming out of Ukraine was back in 2014. I was watching, all these YouTube videos and live streams of not only the protests and riots and stuff that occurred then, but then, the consecutive fighting which occurred after Russia moved in onto Ukrainian territory. I was surprised that it took this long for a full-scale invasion to occur by Russia. But here we are all these years later after they annexed, again, Crimea from Ukraine back in 2014. It says here, at that time, Garland also announced, quote, the seizure of millions of dollars from an account at a U.S. financial institution traceable to Malofiev's sanctions violations. So again, the United States here, sending those seized Russian funds directly to Ukraine now to aid the Ukrainians in their fight against Russia. Pepe says, I remember the little green men. Yes, some of you might remember. That was kind of my first experiences with live streamed combat, with live streamed war unfolding in front of my eyes on the internet. Was watching this unfold back in 2014 in Ukraine, and I mean, it was kind of a life changing thing for me, seeing that unfold, and kind of feeling like. The similarities between Ukraine and where I live here in the United States. Actually, I saw a lot of those guys. They were teenagers, young men. Kind of similar to me and my friends here in the United States. Even like the environment in Ukraine is a lot similar to where I am on the East Coast. It was kind of like looking in my own backyard, and so it was kind of this very stark and kind of dramatic, view of what I had going on over there in Ukraine back then in 2014, and it's followed me all the way through, and it's the direct reason why I'm bringing you guys this reporting now. Is because I saw what happened then. We knew that this was going to happen. Everybody knew that this was eventually going to happen here. That Russia was going to do this. It was surprising that they didn't continue back then. But they just didn't have the assets in place to do it. They didn't have the resources back then. They spent years. They spent 8 years getting ready for this invasion. Again, failed in the process. But again, here we are all these years later bringing you this reporting. And I mean, a lot of people don't know, it started all the way back then in 2014. And some would argue even started long before that. So our next article tonight comes from the New York Times. It says here, Ukraine claims gains near Bakhmut as deadly fighting continues. Again, this is our main story this evening. CZ in the live chat, giving a big and welcome shout out, says, don't forget about Mehmet too being in Kiev, Ukraine. Of course, we can't forget about Mehmet, who was our on-the-ground reporter back when the fighting first broke out there in Ukraine. Again, reporting here from NewYorkTimes.com says Ukraine claims gains near Bakhmut as deadly fighting continues in that region. It says here Ukraine's military said it had reclaimed about 3 square miles outside of the eastern city of Bakhmut, which would be its first significant gains there in weeks. It says here Ukrainian troops break through a Russian flank near Bakhmut. The Wagner leader has escalated criticism of Russia's military leadership. The Justice Department transfers funds seized for sanctions violations to help rebuild Ukraine. First, NATO's top military official assesses the next stage of the war as quality versus quantity. One of the Ukrainian officials screened a map, tells the story of Russians' constant strikes on Ukraine. I know we've talked a lot about just the constant daily, even sometimes hourly bombardment from Russia on Ukraine. Civilian targets, I should add, in Ukraine. Russia eases travel restrictions on Georgian nationals in the latest sign of thawing ties. Canadian expands training for Ukrainian soldiers to Latvia. I know we've talked about that in recent months, about the training, the expansive amounts of training that is occurring there between the U.S. and Ukraine, Canada and Ukraine, the U.K. And Ukraine. Ukraine diary, hardy Kyiv residents use a lull in attacks to try an underground adventure. These are all articles you can, again, check out here on New York Times. But the main story for tonight, Ukraine, again, claiming gains in and around Bakhmut here. It says Ukrainian military commanders said on Wednesday that their troops had broken through Russian positions on the southern flank of the embattled eastern city of Bakhmut, forcing Russian units back from their positions at an important bridgehead of a canal. Ukrainian officials and the head of Russian Wagner militia group said that Russian troops had lost an area of roughly 3 square miles southwest of the city. If confirmed, it would be the first significant gain for Ukraine in the fight for Bakhmut since pushing Russian forces off a key access road 2 months ago, although it was far from clear that Ukrainian forces could hold the ground or that it was a turning point in the months-long battle. The fighting around the city did not seem to be part of a broader counteroffensive that Kyiv had said will begin soon, but came amid an uptick in Ukrainian strikes behind Russian lines and reports of increased attacks in Russian regions bordering Ukraine. The Ukrainian operation near Bakhmut hit Russian army troops as they were rotating into position and was an opportunistic strike on a weak link in the Russian front, Ukrainian military officers said. Next up tonight, we have a few videos which we are going to show you guys here out of Ukraine. We have a video here of a M240 gunner operating in Bakhmut, but we also have this video here, which I'm going to show you first from Funker530. Big shout out to them. And again, another one of my favorite YouTubers on the platform, making a war journalism related content. The footage that Funker puts out is parallel to none. So again, highly recommend you guys go subscribe to them, show them some love. We're going to take a look at this video here, which I have nicknamed A Morning in Bakhmut. Again, I believe this was shot in the early morning hours in Bakhmut there, western Bakhmut. It says sometime early in May 2023. Again, this is a pretty interesting view of what's going on there in the ground in Bakhmut. You can see some of the destruction on the ground. Starting off right away, I'm noticing the, I believe, what is a U.S. military Humvee, if I'm not mistaken, just hanging out in Bakhmut. Very interesting. We're going to take a look at this video here, guys, first thing, and then we will continue on with our primary headlines. So really quickly, I just realized as I'm sitting here, I totally forgot to let you guys know about tonight's live chat poll. Again, if you are viewing us on YouTube this evening, we have a poll going in the live chat, as we always do. Every stream we do a live chat poll, for the most part. Sometimes I miss them. But nonetheless, we have a live chat poll going over on the YouTube live chat. The question, which we will, again, we'll end the poll off after everybody votes. We'll end it off towards the end of the show during our Q&A. We'll talk a little bit about those results. The question for tonight's poll is, do you think the Ukrainians will be able to take back Bakhmut this summer? In recent live streams, in recent reports, I've rolled polls out that say, like, how long do you think until the Russians take Bakhmut? We have now done a 180. Okay, this poll now is asking you, how long do you think it'll take for the Ukrainians to take Bakhmut? Do you think they'll be able to do it this summer? Leave us your answer over in the poll on the YouTube channel. Again, Ukton says, that is intense. Yes, very intense video. This is probably one of the most intense videos I've seen out of Ukraine here. Again, there was that very close artillery there. I'm just going to rewind a little bit so you guys can see that again. But imagine being on the ground here. Imagine being a defender of Ukraine, all right? You're on the ground here in Ukraine, early morning. I mean, it probably looks like 9, 10 a.m., maybe even a little earlier than that. I'm not sure if this was in the morning. It looks, from what I could see in the video, I'm guessing this is early morning sometime. And you're walking along, and this is what the scene looks like on the ground in Bakhmut. Absolute, utter destruction. All right, every single square foot has been affected by the Russian military in some way, or by Wagner PMC for that matter. Anyway, let's take a look here again at this video. So I believe that, okay, so I'll rewind a little bit more so you can see that again, that coming in. They're just walking along here. And again, you can hear that incoming artillery there. Again, sorry for all of my headphone viewers. Again, apologies to all my headphone viewers for not alerting you previously. But if you still have your eardrums intact, again, that's incoming artillery, I believe, from the Russians on their position. You can see them start to kind of quicken their pace here to get to cover, at least to get to that next building here. But again, make sure you vote into tonight's poll. Let us know what you guys think there. Do you think the Ukrainians will be able to take back Bakhmut this summer? Again, another thing I should mention, and I think I've talked about this a few times before, is just the difficulty on the ground. When you're in this environment, amongst the fog of war, so to speak, to identify friendlies from foe. They're having to do this every step of the way. You can see them using bounding movement here, going from cover to cover. They're you gotta stay, head on a swivel. You gotta stay very vigilant because, and I've talked about this before, there's kind of a camouflage soup. The Russians are wearing all sorts of different camo. The Ukrainians are wearing all sorts of different camo. People are just kind of have these mismatched uniforms. And so it can be kind of difficult at times. For instance, I don't see these guys wearing colored armbands. Like you usually see the Ukrainian forces wearing, usually blue, green, or I've also seen yellow. The Russians, I know, a lot of times will wear either red or white, mostly white from what I've seen. I have seen just a few instances of them wearing red, I believe. However, it can be very difficult to distinguish friend or foe. So again, they're having to, be on alert, head on a swivel, not only from Russian attack, but, they don't want to make mistakes. They're all, operating in this urban environment here. There's many different, forces on the ground, many different assets on the ground here. The Ukraine has in place. They're all moving about. They're all, conducting different operations, and it can be hard again to distinguish between friend or foe. So again, that's something to keep in mind here. CZ in the live chat, again, sorry to interrupt the video here, guys, but I'm reading some of some of the live chat tonight. Itchy the Killer, thank you so much, by the way, for tuning in. Says, thanks at Joe Blow and Wind. I just got here and received a gift. Again, big shout out to Joe Blow and Wind for all that support. CZ, though, in the live chat says, I heard about a week or so ago that fighting was going on in Bakhmut, literally elevator shaft by elevator shaft at a train station there. Intense. We've heard of room-to-room combat happening in some of these buildings here in Bakhmut, so that is definitely not a stretch. Pocket Frog, good to see you, says, let's go. It's Nemico. Thank you so much, Pocket Frog, for tuning in tonight. As always, great to see you. Bob Ross, good to see you as well. Kitty Gundy, good to see you as well. Let's continue watching this video here, guys. So again, just looking at the ground here, the ground has been completely churned up by artillery fire. There's craters everywhere. You have pieces of debris. Something that's harder to see on these videos is human remains, which are scattered amongst the battlefield in areas, both civilian and military. There are human remains in some areas under rubble after buildings get struck. Again, complete and utter destruction here. Every square inch of every wall has bullet holes or fragmentation, marks from fragmentation. Again, complete and utter devastation here in Bakhmut. Again, big shout out to Funker 530. Big up to them for everything they do and all of their footage. It's really great stuff. We have another video here, which we're not going to show the complete video because it's pretty long, but we will show a few different snippets here. These are Ukrainian M240 gunners in operations in Bakhmut here. Let's take a look at this video here. Again, they're operating out of a residential apartment complex from the look of it. Again, with a belt-fed M240 machine gun, firing on what seems to be quite distant Russian targets here. Most likely some support fire here. Again, this is in Bakhmut. Comes out of that area in the past few days here. I believe it was posted by Funker 530. Let me see, 9 hours ago. So this is pretty recent footage here.
Давай, третий дом тоже, сколько станете, можете там тоже захуярите. Зажгите все нахуй, если вам будет.
Каким концом?
А?
Лентой вверх или вниз?
Вниз.
Вниз, на.
Ты хуйня вниз.
Да, да.
Не, вот так.
Лентой вверх.
А, да. Бля, нахрен ты нахуй.
Again, there's that Ukrainian gunner absolutely getting it on that M240 there. Again, firing on some distant Russian positions there, support fire. Again, I am not a military expert by any stretch of the imagination, or a machine gunner for that matter. However, I could tell he is absolutely getting it, and laying that cover fire or support fire, whatever it may be, down on those Russian targets there at a distance. You can see some smoke in the clip, actually. Hold on, if I go back to full screen, you might be able to see it a little easier. You can see what seems to be some smoke there off in the distance, if I'm not mistaken. Again, which is where that fighting most likely is occurring. Another video we have tonight from WarLeaks military blog on YouTube here. Big shout out to them. Thank you so much for this footage. Again, this shows drone footage, again, which shows a Ukrainian tank blasting Russian positions in Bakhmut. So again, another example here of the Ukrainians absolutely giving it to the Russians here in Bakhmut in recent days. And again, just to note, look at the absolute destruction here, both in the buildings and on this open ground here, this field. This could have been like a soccer pitch or something, you know, just an open field here. Absolutely littered with artillery rounds. Let's take a look at this footage here. Big shout out to Crushing Pie. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Oh, Sydney Pruden asks a great... One second. Sydney Pruden asks a great question, which I was actually going to cover at the end of the show. Says, I know it's asked every Wednesday, but what is going on with the Nemico rocket? Actually, really quickly, we'll just divert to that real quick. Show you guys here. I was going to cover this at the end of the show, but I guess I'll cover it now. This is the current status of the artillery. It's a 155mm howitzer with text. It's a video. Again, we did the fundraiser here about a month or two ago now. It's been quite a while. I heard back from them. I emailed them, actually, about last week or the week before. Basically saying, hey, you know, like, what's going on? What's the status on this? And they said it hadn't been sent to the front line, or that they had forgot to send the video over. So one of the people here at Sign My Rocket is apparently looking into it, and they're going to, again, find the video and get that over to us so we can start using it as our stream intro, because I've been super pumped to take a look at... Again, this footage here from Sign My Rocket, again, of that custom signed 155mm howitzer shell being fired on Russian positions in Ukraine. Again, the message on it says, Nemico Network sends its regards to the Russian invaders. That was the winning selection on the vote that we put up, the poll on the YouTube community section. Anyway, back to the video here again, which shows Ukrainian tanks blasting Russian-held positions in BAHKMUT. I'm just going to rewind a little bit here so we can see that fire that tank was laying down on those positions. You can see them absolutely hammering that video there. And you can see even some fragmentation there from the looks of it. Again, you know, just to like remind everybody, this is just a small example of what's happening every hour in Ukraine, and not just in BAHKMUT, but across the entire Eastern Front, the Southern Front. You know, there's fighting constantly going on there. So again, there was that video there of those. Let's get CNN out of here. Again, those videos of that Ukrainian tank blasting those Russian positions. I've seen actually quite a few videos like that in the past few days. It's some other Ukraine news here. This is kind of some big news here. This is coming again from CNN. I know how much we all love CNN and Fox here, but I can't leave them out of the party. Again, because this is actually a pretty big article here. It comes along with some video here, which we'll show you. Again, it talks about that Wagner boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, filming that Russian brigades have fled from BAHKMUT. Let's take a look at the article here. It says the boss of the Russian mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, accused a Russian brigade of abandoning its position in the front line of BAHKMUT, allowing the Ukraine to seize territory. The remarks are the latest in a series of public criticisms from him of Moscow's Ministry of Defense for the faltering invasion of Ukraine, and in particular, the failure to capture the city of BAHKMUT. But while Prigozhin has frequently poured scorn on the Russian military and its leadership, he has not previously accused Russian units of running from the battle and allowing Ukrainian forces to recapture territory. Again, a pretty significant escalation here in Prigozhin's rhetoric, so to speak. Prigozhin said the 72nd Brigade, quote, just ran the hell out of there. In some news from Russia here, during that Shrunken Victory Day parade, Putin says Ukraine war was, quote, unleashed on Russia. That's his view of it here, at least. Says here, out of London, Russia's Victory Day parade is meant to be a projection of President Vladimir Putin's military might, but this year it was effectively the opposite. The military parade in Moscow's Red Square on Tuesday was a significantly shrunken version of itself, thinned out due to Russia's huge losses in Ukraine. Its urgent need for equipment on the front lines. Analysts noted there was seemingly only one heavy tank in the entire parade this year, a World War II-era T-34 museum piece that led the procession. Instead, the parade was almost exclusively light armored vehicles similar to Humvees. In some China news from the Wall Street Journal here, it says China seeks to pry Europe away from Washington. Beijing's new foreign minister uses the first solo Europe trip to warn against decoupling between the two economic giants. Berlin, China's foreign minister, crisscrossing Europe this week in a bid to peel the continent away from the growing confrontation between Beijing and Washington, warning that European interests would be harmed by towing the U.S.'s approach. And some other Chinese news here from Fox News. China threatens retaliation after EU weighs sanctions for Beijing's military aid to Russia. Says here, China on Tuesday said it would react, quote, strictly and strongly should the European Union slap sanctions on Chinese companies accused of selling equipment for Russia to use in its ongoing war in Ukraine. Foreign Minister Qin Zhang said, quote, China would take the necessary response to firmly protect the legitimate interests of Chinese companies. In some news out of North Korea, if it'll load, looks like we lost that article. 1 second here. Let me see if I can bring it back up to you guys. Here we go. Again, this is some North Korean news. Okay. Here we go. North Korea's Kim Jong-un says Russia will prevail over hostile forces. This comes from Seoul, South Korea. So again, the capital of South Korea here. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said Russia will, quote, will prevail in its fight against what he described as imperialists. Again, this comes from the state news agency KCNA, which said that on Tuesday in remarks seen to be aimed at Ukraine and its Western supporters, such as the United States. North Korea has forged closer ties with the Kremlin and backed Moscow after it invaded Ukraine last year, including its proclamation that later of having annexed parts of Ukraine that most UN members condemned as illegal. In some Sudan news here, again coming from Reuters this evening, it talks about battles shake Sudan's capital, ceasefire talks reported to make progress. So there is some progress there and some potential ceasefire talks there in Sudan, but fighting is currently ongoing. There's a picture here on screen which again shows smoke rising above buildings after an aerial bombardment during clashes between those paramilitary rapid support forces and the army in Khartoum, North Sudan. Again, that came from the 1st of May, 2023. In some Iran news here, IDF spokesperson says operation against Islamic Jihad was achieved, makes warning to Iran-backed terrorists. Let's take a look here. It says a spokesperson for the Israeli Defense Forces told Fox News that its operation against the Palestine Islamic Jihadists, also known as the PIJ terror group on Tuesday, was a success. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari issued a warning to the PIJ during the interview after describing its operation as a success. Quote, we targeted Islamic Jihad terrorist members, specifically the ones that were unstabilizing the area. We have killed them in the first minutes of the operation. They're all dead, Hagari said. Quote, the goals of this operation have been achieved in the first early seconds of the operation. Again, that about concludes our primary headlines for this evening. We will now be stepping over into our community aggregated reporting for tonight. Again, coming from our Situation Room and our beautiful Intel analysts over on the Discord server. Big shout out to all of you wonderful, wonderful people. Our first post this evening coming from Rakasan. Big shout out to Rakasan. Both active in the YouTube chat and over on the Discord, and has been posting quite a bit in the Situation Room lately. Thank you so much for that. This comes from Noel Report. It says here, south of BAHKMUT, west of Stupochki. The AFU has completely cleared the area west of the SD Canal from Russian presence. We already had this area under AFU control, but Russians were apparently still active in the area. Active hostilities now occur on the eastern side of the canal. Again, battle map on screen showing the current situation there around that canal and BAHKMUT. Our next post here, coming from Pravada.com. This was posted by Miss Tiger Eye. She actually has a few versions of these. Actually, we have two articles here from Miss Tiger Eye, so I'll go through both of them. We're going to open up both of those. The first one here, again, talking about Ukraine neutralizing Russian air defense systems. I'm going to have to disable my ad blocker here, so one moment here. It says here, Ukraine is neutralizing Russian air defense systems ahead of the counteroffensive. No doubt this counteroffensive has already begun. I would like to just make that clear. This counteroffensive is underway at this moment and has been probably for about a week or so. There has been significant gains made in various areas by the Ukrainians over the past few weeks, so they definitely are on the counteroffensive at this time, especially in and around BAHKMUT, that is for sure. It says here, recent news reports have touted Ukraine's successful use of air defense systems to intercept a Russian hypersonic Kinzhal missile. Again, for those that don't know, those are those hypersonic missiles which Russia has touted as indestructible, uninterceptable, they've even said. While impressive, a more astonishing accomplishment is that the Ukrainians have likely limited the effectiveness of Russian air defense systems. Thus far in the war, both sides have employed such systems to protect their ground forces from incoming missiles and aircraft strikes. However, the Ukrainians have managed to systematically destroy Russian air defense assets, which the Russians have struggled to replace. This has the potential to play a large role in the forthcoming counteroffensive, allowing the Ukrainians to potentially control the airspace over Ukraine. So I know some people mentioned that Miss Tiger Eye is not with us this evening. Well, big shout out either way to Miss Tiger Eye for contributing this news over on the Situation Room. She had one more article for us this evening. It comes from Ukrainska Pravda. This talks about counterattack successful on BAHKMUT front. Russians retreated up to 2 kilometers in some places. I know we reported a little bit on this earlier, but I'll just read you the tagline here, which is Ukrainian defenders have been able to launch an efficient counterattacks on BAHKMUT front, forcing the occupiers to retreat for up to 2 kilometers in some areas. The source on that was Alexander Sersky, commander of the ground forces, the armed forces of Ukraine, on Telegram. Our next post this evening coming from Tigan. This is from Reuters. This talks about Ukraine unit says Russian brigade flees the outskirts of BAHKMUT. Let's take a look at this article here. It says Ukrainian military unit said on Wednesday it had routed. If the page will scroll down here, it's not wanting to even let me scroll down. Here we go. We'll just zoom out a little bit. A Ukrainian military unit said on Wednesday it had routed a Russian infantry brigade from frontline territory near BAHKMUT, claiming to confirm an account by the head of Russia's Wagner private army that Russian forces had indeed fled. Later in the day, Colonel General Alexander Sersky, who heads the Ukrainian ground forces, said Russian units in some parts of BAHKMUT had retreated up to 2 kilometers. Again, as I just reported just moments ago. We have one article again this evening, I believe, coming from Dwarden on the Situation Room. Thank you so much, Dwarden. Big shout out to Kayuka, Rakusan, Dwarden, Tiger Eye, all of our power posters over there in our Situation Room on the Discord server. Big shout out to you guys for providing that news and reporting for everybody that's a member on the Discord server. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for the continued help there, the continued support for the community, bringing us this news. This, again, comes from Weisgarad24 on Twitter, verified Twitter account. It says, breaking news, Poland has already delivered 10 whole MiG-29 fighter jets to Ukraine. Polish defense minister just confirmed it at a press conference in Canada. So that about wraps up our community aggregating reporting for this evening. We're now going to hop over into our live universal awareness map to take a look at some of the open source intelligence data we have out of Ukraine in the past about 12 hours or so. Okay, I need to drag this back over here because I can't see it way over there on that monitor. All right, we're going to scroll down to about the 12-hour mark here with a report here, again, coming from the Kremlin. It says here, Putin signed a decree on mobilization of reservists, quote, for military training. Again, I've been talking about this for a little while now, that I've been expecting a new Russian mobilization here. Again, big air quotes here, big air quotes for military training. We all know what that means, which is you're getting sent to the front line after about 2 weeks. So, again, we're probably going to see another huge mobilization here from the Russians. They need to get boots on the ground to counteract this Ukrainian counteroffensive, if they can. And to do that, they need more meat for the meat grinder. So they are getting this mobilization underway here. Again, this big air quotes for military training, which, of course, you're going to get a few weeks of military training here, but then you're probably going to be sent to the front line. 12 hours ago, one person wounded as a result of shelling a defensive object in the Kursk region. Again, that's a result of shelling here in northeastern Ukraine. 11 hours ago, a woman killed in shelling in Hakovka district in Ukraine. Again, that's in the south of the country. That one is always a tongue twister for me to pronounce. 10 hours ago, Ukrainian units have launched several successful counterattacks at BAHKMUT direction. Again, this comes from the, I'm pretty sure that's Sursky, the commander, again, of those Ukrainian forces there. 9 hours ago, Russian Army shelled Nikopol district today. You can see on the map where that was located here. Again, not too far from Zaporizhia. Again, that news that I talked about earlier about that nuclear power plant under continuous threat from the Russian forces there. 9 hours ago, France opens war crime investigation into AFP reporter's death. Again, that's the AFP reporter which died in Ukraine due to Russian attacks here earlier this year. 7 hours ago, 2 drones exploded in Belgorod district. Again, that's on Russian territory proper. Again, according to a local governor, Ukraine has been bringing the fight to Russian territory in recent weeks. So, again, not out of the ordinary here. We've been seeing a lot of drone strikes. We saw the drone strike on the Kremlin there, which, again, has not been confirmed to have been done by Ukrainian hands. Could have also been a Russian false flag. Could have been a partisan attack there. Again, we haven't had any, not much information there. Again, because that's all information coming from the Kremlin. 6 hours ago here, it says Russian army shelled Zaporizhia district with missiles with cluster munitions. Several houses on fire in that region. Again, for those that don't know, that is in the same region where that nuclear power plant is. 5 hours ago, explosions reported in Kramatorsk district. Kramatorsk constantly being bombarded by the Russian forces. Still to this day, they've been under significant bombardment since the war began. Kramatorsk hasn't seen that many Russian forces on the ground in the city. However, has seen a lot of Russian bombardment since the war began. Kharkiv, Kherson, and other 2 cities that have seen absolute devastation from the Russian forces. 6 hours ago, a drone hit an administrative building in the Starodub town of Bryansk region, says the governor in that area. 5 hours ago, President Zelensky of Ukraine created a military administration in the temporarily occupied Skadovsk region in Ukraine. You can see, I believe, was that reported out of Kyiv? Yes, so that was reported out of Kyiv. It doesn't actually show the location where they are going to be in Skadovsk, where they're going to be. Again, here it says 4 hours ago, explosions reported in Zaporizhia. Again, for those who don't know, that's where that nuclear power plant is located, in Zaporizhia Oblast. 4 hours ago, small arms fighting reported at the border in Shibinkino, Belgorod region. Again, for those that don't know, and this is an interesting post here. This is a special occasion, all right? Special post here. Breaking news, I should say, because it's only 4 hours old that we've seen this. But again, this is on Russian territory, or at least right over the border here into Belgorod, that this small arms fighting is happening. So right on the border with Russia. This is on Russian territory. We actually have some video here, which I can show you, I believe coming from, if I'm not mistaken, Telegram? Yeah, this was from Telegram. So here's some footage here, again. This is just audio, again, kind of you're hearing some of that small arms fire. Occurring here in Belgorod. I will be quiet so you guys can hear. Pretty sure you'll be able to hear some small arms fire here. Okay, so I don't know if I heard anything there except maybe a couple bumps in the night. I might have heard some small arms fire maybe in the distance. Kind of hard to tell. But again, nonetheless, we have had a few different reports about that fighting happening there, again, on the border. Or from what I've heard, it's right over the border onto Russian territory proper. So it could be interesting if we see the Ukrainians moving on to Russian territory in that area. That would definitely be pretty interesting. Pocket Frog, big shout out to you. Epi Moo, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Sydney Pruden, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Patty Whack, Joe Blowing Wind. For everybody that hasn't voted in the poll, you got about 30 seconds to go vote in that live chat poll on the YouTube live chat. We're going to end that off, and we're going to discuss the pretty interesting results, actually, from that live chat poll here in just a few moments. We're now starting our kind of Q&A for the evening, so please let me know of any questions or comments you guys have in the live chat, and we'll be reading those off. What was I going to what was that here? Let me see. Gotta scroll back up. Miss Tiger Eye, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, she's here. She's here now. Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Tiger Eye, for being here with us. We shouted you out earlier in the show because we were covering the reports that you posted in the Situation Room on the Discord server. But I'm glad to see that you're tuning in tonight and that you made it finally. Again, we're having a little bit of a late show this evening. Joe Blowing Wind, thank you so much for the support, man. I can't thank you enough. With a super chat there, says, for the root beer fund, thank you so much, Joe Blowing Wind. I'm going to take that and I'm going to put that right back into the channel. And again, trying to make some better content for you guys here. As always, I'm trying to improve, and I'm stupid busy in my day-to-day life with my other job and everything I got going on with my family and stuff. So I've been trying as hard as I can to get this content out to you guys. And over the summer, I'm going to be trying to release more stuff for you guys on the YouTube channel. It's been really hard for me to get the time together to make videos and content for you guys, as I got to keep up with work and stuff. So, but that support goes a long way for helping me bring you guys this reporting and continuing to do these shows for you guys. So again, huge shout out to Joe Blown Wind for, again, gifting the community subs, for the support that you've given us. It means a lot. It means a lot. I know there's quite a few others out there that have supported us. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Epi, he also dropped some support for us earlier in the show. Big shout out to you, Epi. As always, you're our favorite Scotsman. We love seeing you here. Joe Blowing Wind, I'm not sure where you're from, but I would love to know. I imagine you're probably from the U.S. with a name like Joe Blowing Wind, but I could be wrong. But again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Kitty Gandhi, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Hugo, as always. Cass0606 says root beer, that's for sure. Speedy Squirrel, thank you so much for tuning in. Crushing Pie, thank you so much for being here. Speedy Squirrel with the super chat. Thank you so much, Speedy Squirrel. It means a lot, as always. Great to have you tuning in here from all the way over in the UAE. I'm not even sure what time it is. It's probably in the morning there for you, I would imagine. I think it's early in the morning for you, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember correctly, it's like 4 a.m. in the morning for Speedy Squirrel right now that he's tuning in. Maybe a little later in the day. I could be wrong. Let us know in the live chat. But either way, he says, for the Taco Fund, man, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for the support. And as always, just being with us is enough for us. Joe Bowen says, green, you mean the Nemico stamp? Yeah, so if you become a member, your name becomes green in the live chat. If you're a member for more than a month, you get a different emblem. And then if you're a 3 months member, you get a different emblem. 4 months member, etc. Keeps going. And I think for like 6 months or something like that, you eventually reach like the golden emblem or something like that. So Speedy Squirrel says it's 6:48 a.m. in the morning there where he's tuning in from. That is devotion. That is dedication. Thank you so much for being here with us, Speedy Squirrel, as always. It is highly appreciated for you tuning in. Rakasan says, Texans unite. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, Joe Blowen is from Texas as well. Huge shout out to all my Texas guys tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. Again, I'm from the north of the country, haven't been to Texas, but I highly admire Texas and Texans, in general. Texan people, their morale, their gumption. You guys got it going on down there in Texas. So again, big shout out to all my Texan viewers tonight. Rising says it's 10:49 p.m. Florida time. Big shout out to everybody tuning in from Florida tonight, as always. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Cass0606 says the stars at night are big and bright. That is for sure. Miss Tiger Eyes says, Nemico, can you say hi to my mom? Hello, Miss Tiger Eyes' mom. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much for your daughter being here with us tonight and joining in on the live stream. As always, thank you guys, for, again, being here with us and joining in on the reports. It's great to have you. Again, big shout out to Miss Tiger Eye and her mom. Speedy Squirrel says, sorry, preparing squirrel breakfast. So, hi, everyone. Sorry if I missed someone. No problem at all, Speedy Squirrel. Thank you so much for just being here with us. Glad to have you. As always, Wayne Johnson is absolutely working his butt off for his 2 rubles in the live chat. Big shout out to Wayne. He's been our number one Russian troll in the live chats. Everybody deserves a voice. Everybody deserves a voice, even their side of the argument. So he's welcome in the live chat. As always, he's putting his due diligence in. He's getting his 2 cents in there in the live chat. Big shout out to all of our Russian trolls tonight for tuning in the live chat. All of our Kremlin goons. Glad to see you guys as always. Bob Ross says, hi, Mom. Hello to you, Bob Ross. Good to see you as always. Guys, if you haven't already, vote in the live chat poll. I'm about to end it off. We're at 137 votes. Let's see if we can get to 140. All I need is 3 more people to humbly vote in our live chat poll this evening. If you guys haven't already, please get over there in the live chat poll, vote, and then I'm going to end that off here in just a moment. Rakasan 2013 says, Hugo, join the Discord already. I think we've been asking Hugo for like 12 months to join the Discord server. Hugo, if you get a chance at some point, come and join us over on the Discord server, man. I think you'd love it. I think you'd absolutely fit in over there. Everybody is welcome to join the Discord server. It's a great community which we have built up over there, over on the Discord server. We're all exchanging information. We're talking. We're discussing. It's a huge, valuable asset to me. I mean, even in my reporting, my weekly reporting here for you guys, I'm watching that general chat on the Discord server, I'm watching the different chat channels. I'm looking at what you guys are asking, what questions you guys are asking, what questions you guys are posing, what things you guys are discussing, and that's what dictates what I'm reporting on here. Is what you guys want to know about, what you guys are talking about. It's not only a valuable asset to me, but it's a valuable asset to you guys. To each other, being able to communicate and have that resource for information on not just what's going on in Ukraine, but all over the world. So again, join us over on the Discord server. Big shout out to Miss Tiger Eye for posting the link to the Discord server in the live chat. As always, big shout out to all my mods, the mods on the YouTube chats, the Twitch chats, the Discord. I love you guys. Thank you so much for helping us out. Big shout out to my editors. I have quite a few editors. We got writing team guys. A big shout out to all of you, our editors. We have one editor in particular, which he wishes to remain anonymous. He is over there on the Discord server. Some of you might be able to guess who he is. Big shout out to you, one of you who has been editing our weekly summary videos. We weren't able to get one out for you guys last week, but I believe we'll be able to get this week's out to you guys. Big shout out to him for editing those weekly summary videos. Those are extremely valuable to those of us that can't sit down for a 1 to 2 hour live stream report and just want a quick rundown of everything that's been going on. So again, big shout out to them. I have been trying to get some more shorts out to you guys. I will be trying to get more of that posted to the channel, more videos posted to the channel here in the coming weeks. So again, keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you get notified when those new streams, when those new videos and stuff go live. Pepe with the super chat says, keep it up. Thank you so much, Pepe, for that super chat and supporting us here on the channel. Big shout out to you. Thank you. As always, I've seen you probably for the last 8 streams consecutively. I feel like you've been here every time I stream. So again, not just to Pepe, but to all of my usual viewers, thank you guys so much for just tuning back in week after week and being here with us. It means a lot. Just Me says, I haven't seen Tango in a while. I think he did a name change. Maybe I haven't heard from Tango either. Maybe I'll send him a message at some point. I know he might have had some stuff going on in his life there. I'm not sure, but I will. I'll hopefully reach out to him, maybe see what's been going on with Tango. He was an excellent viewer and a moderator here on the live streams for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and off tonight's live stream poll. Miss Tiger says, everyone in green, it's confusing me. Yeah, we have so many new members. Again, I can't thank Joe Blown Wind enough for helping out, gifting those community memberships. And not just that, but for everybody that's signed up for a membership here on the channel, thank you so much. I'm going to be trying my best to get you guys some kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but some kind of membership-only content, some kind of videos for you guys, just something to get out to you guys that have been paying for memberships on the channel. It helps the channel a ton, and I want to be able to give something back to you guys. So I'm going to be doing that here, hopefully in the next few weeks here. Appy Moose says, Hugo, don't worry. You only have to sacrifice a goat if you decide to stay in the Hive community on the Nemico Discord. Appy, we love you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hugo says, I'm downloading Discord now, thanks to the link from Miss Tiger Eye 9112. I'm so pumped. I'm ecstatic to hear that, Hugo. Thank you so much. I'm tearing up over here, knowing that you will be joining us over on the Discord server. Miss Tiger Eye says, Nemico, I have a question. Thoughts on Belarus railway movements? Well, we've been seeing all sorts of movement there in Belarus since the beginning of the war, really. So, like, I haven't seen anything about it in the past week, but I might just be under a rock. I haven't seen anything, at least. We have the news with the Ukraine and Lithuania agreeing to develop that railway link bypassing Belarus and Russia. There's a lot of that. We have a lot of partisan attacks happening on Belarusian and Russian railway lines to disrupt military supplies that are moving in and amongst Belarus and Russia as well. So we've seen a lot of that. there definitely has been a lot of equipment being moved around in and around Belarus, but we've seen that a lot over the past 12 months. So I would say it's anything out of the ordinary because they're gonna be moving stuff around within Belarus. Belarus is like a huge asset for Russia. Being able to operate out of Belarus to the north of Ukraine is a huge asset for Russia. Pattywax says, Nemico, do you need a hug? You okay? I think I'm all right. Hopefully, a little dehydrated. Gonna try to get hydrated here after the stream. Michelle Welch says, thank you, Nemico, for the stream. I love it. Thank you, Michelle, for being here. I'm gonna end off that poll. I know I sound like a broken record. I've been slacking here. We're ending the poll now. So again, tonight's poll question was, do you think the Ukrainians will be able to take back Bakhmut this summer? An overwhelming 77% of you says yes, they will be able to take back Bakhmut. 22% say no. Again, for those that don't know, I put out a poll a few weeks back, it might have been a month or two ago, basically asking, do you think Russia will be able to take Bakhmut, within the next few months or something? And I think the majority of you at the time said yes. So we've gone a complete 180 since then. So just pretty interesting stuff there. I'm going to post that poll, those poll results, in the situation room on the Discord server. If it'll let me take that over there real quick. I'm going to post that over in the situation room for those that would like to look at those poll results. Again, as always, in the situation room over on the Discord server. Miss Tiger Eye says, Nemico, there was a railway issue in Bryansk railway station in Russia, which is the biggest railway corridor for Belarus. Yes, I've heard that. And so, again, back to those partisan attacks. There's been a lot of attacks on Russian and Belarusian railway infrastructure by partisan groups. Could it be Ukrainian saboteurs? Possibly. But I think a lot of these partisan groups are domestic. So Belarusians that are fed up, Russians that are fed up, etc. Sydney Purdy says, thank you, Nemico, amazing as always, she says. Thank you, Sydney, for tuning in, as always. Great to have you. Pond says, for some reason, I always miss these live feeds, maybe because it's in the middle of the night in Sweden, but I will try to watch more of it. Very informative. Thank you so much, Pond, for those kind words and for just being here with us, as always. Glad to see you. That about concludes tonight's... Miss Tiger says, I have some evidence. Send it over to me. Maybe we'll talk about it on next week's live stream. Anyway, guys, that about sums up tonight's live stream weekly report, again, for the 10th of May, 2023. Again, we came at you guys a little bit late tonight, so apologies for that, but we will be back next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as always, here on Nemico Network. For those that haven't yet, hit that like button. Catch the video. We upload this as a video on YouTube every time we live stream. Afterwards, we put it to the YouTube channel. So catch the video over there on the YouTube channel. And when I upload it, I'll be uploading it right after we're done live here. So go show us the love there. Go drop a comment, hit that like button, and watch the video. Miss Tiger Eye says, wait, can you play Imagine Dragons' new video? I don't think I can do that due to copyright, Miss Tiger Eye, but I will look into it. Possibly we will show that next week. As always, I always give everybody, when they say show this, show that, I always give it a chance. I'll take a look at it, and we could definitely probably get it on the show. If it has some copyrighted material, though, that's where the issues fall in, like music and stuff. So, but if it's maybe an interview or something, I might be able to take a look at that. But nonetheless, I will take a look at it. I know a lot of people were actually sending that to me earlier. I haven't even watched it yet, so I'll have to go and take a look at that. Again, we'll be back here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next weekly live report. Big up to all of my supporters, to everybody that's subscribed on Twitch, to everybody that is a member over on YouTube, to all of our supporters with live chat, super chats, super thanks, to everybody that's donated. Huge shout out to all you guys. You're what makes you guys are what makes this possible. It's what keeps me able to be bringing you guys these videos, to take off half a day of work to be here to get this content together for you guys, to do these live streams for you guys. So again, big shout out to you guys. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the community, really. So again, big shout out to everybody that supports us. Big shout out to all of our viewers, every single one of you guys, for just taking some time out of your day to be here with us. I know YouTube doesn't necessarily like the content that we make. YouTube Again, views this content is sensitive content. It's not advertiser friendly. Talking about these different war topics, etc. So, it's hard for us to gain a real following, a real bit of traction here. We've faced shadow bans and all sorts of stuff because of because of this reporting that we've been giving out to you guys. So, again, big shout out to everybody that tunes in week after week to be here with us. It's because of you guys that I come back and I do this. So. Anyway, we'll be back here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Nemico Network for our next weekly live report. New videos and streams coming at you guys in the future. Big shout out to everybody on Twitch. Big shout out to everybody here on YouTube. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Nemico Network.
Something that will change our daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.
Let me